and what we've done is we've allowed bitterness and unforgiveness to come in, and they are consumers, they are destroyers. And so when we don't release that negative offense, that trauma from an incident, that spiritual thing is a destroyer, and that enters our system, and it then goes and looks for something to latch on to. Yes, it is quite a
Hot topic.
and I believe that we're going to have some really good insight. And more than anything, I believe the Lord is going to reveal we're going to break up some strongholds and religious thinking and bring about some truth. And it's like, okay, God, I've given you my quota, my quota of time for the week. I am about my own business. See you later. See you next week.
Is Christianity a mere set of religious rituals and doctrines, or does it encompass something deeper? A kingdom with its own laws, principles, values, culture, and dynamic. I'm thrilled to have you join us today as we dive into a topic that sparks curiosity and contemplation. Christianity, a religion or a kingdom? One of the things we want to talk about now is the physical benefits of forgiveness.
Studies linking unforgiveness to health issues like high blood pressure, weakened immunity, are out there. They're prevalent. How forgiveness promotes better sleep, reduces stress, and overall wellness. The mind, the spirit, and the body are connected in forgiveness. We are a triune. I was talking with my sister the other day, and we were talking about, how we function and choose to do things in life and how they affect us. And I said to her, I said, we have to remember that we are a triune being, as our Creator and our Father who created us is triune. We are spirit, soul, and body.
Yeah.
And each and every component of who we are is connected and intertwined and affects the other. And so many times, a lot of people will not receive their healing until they do a spiritual check. When you do a checkup, you need to do a spiritual checkup, you need to do an emotional checkup, and then you need to do a physical checkup. And the unforgiveness is like a poison in our and the Word of God tells us in Psalms, it's like bitterness. It's like a root of it. It rots the bones. And for a lot of us, we really don't grasp fully how spiritual we are.
Yeah, we think when we start talking spirituality or spirit, we start thinking spooky, but we don't understand that's our makeup.
Yes.
And when you understand how we are made up, then you understand the responsibilities of each aspect of us.
And we have to understand that there are physical laws that we are governed by. There are emotional and intellectual laws that we are governed by, and there are spiritual laws that we are governed by. And when we violate any of those, there is a consequence to that. There's a cause and effect, and that cause and effect, those laws are established from the creation. God established certain laws and certain things to operate a certain way, and you get a result, positive or negative, based on how you move towards that or based on your actions. And so when we spiritually violate the law or do not allow the forgiveness to take place, like I said, we create a clog in our spiritual pipe. And what we've done is we've allowed bitterness and unforgiveness to come in, and they are consumers. They are destroyers. And so when we don't release that negative offense, that trauma from an incident, that spiritual thing is a destroyer, and that enters our system, and it then goes and looks for something to latch on to.
So
I
go ahead.
heard a testimony of a woman who had something happen in her family, in her family, and months later she was shocked. She got a diagnosis. She started not feeling well, and she went to the doctor, and they found that she had a tumor on her lungs. And she said when they took the x-ray, this cancer, it was like she said it looked like a claw, because it wrapped around her her lungs and her blood vessels and stuff. And this thing was just eating at her, and they at that time they told her she only had months to live, and she began to believe God, and it was her daughter who gave her a scripture. She had chemo and all of that stuff, but she stood on the word, and I believe in all of that. Through that, she talked about how she had to come to terms with a lot of stuff in her life, and it was through the physical treatment she was getting. She did some spiritual inventory, and she's 4 years later. When they went back and did the surgery, the thing it was like it had disappeared.
Wow.
And I say that to say this, that in the spiritual realm there are entities. There's the demonic realm, the kingdom of darkness. They are looking, the enemy is looking for access to our lives. And a lot of times little principles that we violate give him a foothold. And once he gets a foothold in our lives, then he comes in, and he can attack us in our physical body, in our emotions, and all in different areas. So it's important when Jesus told us that we must forgive. When the Lord encouraged us to do that, he did that because he knew that was for our benefit.
So from this segment, forgiveness is a healing act that restores not only your spirit but your body as well.
Yes.
And we have to see it that way. We have to understand that we cannot open ourselves up to unforgiveness, because when we do that, we give the enemy room. We open the doorway for the enemy to affect us.
Yes.
In other words.
Yeah.
Okay? That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about forgiveness in relationships.
Forgiveness as the foundation of a healthy relationship. It looks like how unresolved conflicts poison friendships, marriages, and families. We see it so often. Oh my. And many families are hijacked. They are stuck. Like, it's almost like they are in these big yachts in the sandbank. They're wedged in, and they're going nowhere. And you wonder, well, why can't we move ahead? Why can't we progress? Because there's unresolved conflicts that have poisoned a friendship or marriage and families and siblings and that's a big thing, you know, and the enemies, that's another ploy of the enemy. Kill, steal, and destroy, divide and conquer. And so if he could keep us from coming together and agreeing, we will never accomplish anything. We will not accomplish the purposes that God has intended for us as a family.
I'm always surprised when I find family members that don't talk and don't speak to one another. You know, I come from a big family, and I always tell people I normally prepare them for when they get introduced to my family because we loud. Okay, we talk a lot. You know, we disagree.
Very opinionated.
We agree to disagree, but we don't get hung up on. At least we try our best not to get hung up on forgiveness, and because I've seen it happen in other families where I noticed to ask someone, when last you talk to your brother, when last you talk to your sister, or why, and they don't talk to them, and why? It's been so long when the offense happened, they don't even remember why. But they just still in that position. Just in that position.
Yeah.
It always baffles me when I experience that. You know, in Matthew 18:21-22, it says, "Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, 'Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me?'" And then he said, up to seven times 7. Jesus answered and tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. That's a lot of time to forgive.
Yeah.
I guess I just tell people, take my approach. Don't wear nothing. Don't wear nothing on this. Don't wear your feelings on your sleeve. They offend you, you forgive them and you move on. Don't get hung up on what happened and how it happened and if they do it and they shouldn't do it and why they think it. When you live that way, when you get hung up on that stuff, it ages you. It makes you sick, like Nicole said earlier. What we want to focus on is just forgive. Just forgive and move on. Just forgive and move on. People should meet us as kingdom citizens and say, how you just let that happen? And you be like, man, I didn't forgive them. From they didn't do that, I forgive them.
Yeah.
And you just move on. And that's not saying allowing people to take advantage of you.
So how do you differentiate between addressing a matter and not getting offended and holding offense and not forgiving?
Well, there's certain things. Let me give you an example. There's some individuals that you know. I don't care how much you talk to them, they ain't changing. Especially the unbelievers, they ain't changing. So if you're going to allow them in your circle, you should have prepared your mind and your heart that you can forgive them, whatever they do. Okay? And then there's some individuals who you can help.
But okay, those first set of individuals, they're gonna do things. That doesn't mean that I don't correct what they do.
No. You
it's just that I don't let it bother me.
Yeah, and then like I said, there's some individuals you allow in your circle. You know just where they at. You know where they at. You ain't like these people ain't sneak up on you. You know them.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the onus is on you now to say, you know what? I can love this one. I can love this one right where he is.
Yeah.
And when you say that, that means you should be prepared just to forgive them, and let's move on.
Yeah.
Because they can say things and they can do things, and sometimes they can forget they even do it. Some of them bold enough to come right back to you, like ain't nothing never happened. so if you gonna allow them back in your circle, just love on them and forgive them where they at. And you, like I said,
and I think then what's required there is to establish proper boundaries.
Yeah.
And set criteria and boundaries as to if you coming this way, this is how it's gonna happen, or you don't come.
Yeah, because again, as believers, as citizens of the kingdom, we should have guardrails up. Yeah. Because I can be honest. I don't allow toxic people to come around me and to speak certain things into my life or do certain things. And once I've realized who you are and what you are, I can do my best to show you Christ. But I know how far to allow you in my circle because I ain't gonna tell you I ain't ready to forgive every time. So
and
the Lord
again,
gives us wisdom.
like you said,
The Lord gives us wisdom to allow or not allow. But once you allow someone in that circle, man, listen here. You better be prepared to don't get all emotional and wear all your feeling on your arm, and because that one look at you certain way or they say certain thing or they always say something or they always do something wrong. You have to be prepared as a kingdom citizen that, hey, I know who this person is, especially if you're allowing unbelievers into your circle. You better wear a robe of forgiveness.
oh, most of the time though, I think we have less issues with the unbelievers than we do with the believers.
Well,
because they're the ones who
that's another story.
who always out of order and pushing the limit.
But let me
But
ask you, how has forgiveness helped us in our own marriage?
Oh, forgiveness forgiveness has helped us a lot. We and for me, you were talking about where being sensitive and stuff. Again, I grew up my family circle is very small compared to yours. And so we had our issues, but it wasn't, we didn't have we had some contention and stuff. But I guess I've always been a very sensitive child and sensitive person, a quiet one.
You are?
Yeah. And so I found myself, I didn't like confrontation. And so when people did things, I would just hold it. And I wasn't very good at standing up for myself and calling people on what they did. So they would do things and I just I wouldn't say anything, but I was bothered by it.
Okay.
So I kept it.
Okay.
And so I had to learn how to properly address a matter. And, say, listen, what you did, I didn't like it, it wasn't right or whatever. But when we got married, your personality and just you, at one point I was like, Lord, what have I gotten myself into? And then I remember I was getting, you because of who you are, being Jamin, you used to offend me a lot. We would talk, but I still held a lot of offense. And I remember the first couple months of our marriage, I was mad I would be mad for like a week to almost a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And then the Lord said something to me. Because I was like, I said, Lord, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work.
So you was mad in your own corner? Because I never remember you being mad that long.
Yeah. You knew I was mad.
Yeah.
But I came to realize, you know what? Like you said, I realized this just who this guy is, and I have to just work on just smoothing him out and refining him. But in the meantime, I gotta love him where he's at. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me. He said, you need to forgive quickly. And I made up my mind after the honeymoon. We came back from the honeymoon, and that first month and a half, I was like, I just need to get over things quickly, deal with it, address it, and get over it quickly. And so you and I could have the most heated discussions to the point where I remember when John said, so are y'all getting a divorce? But then, and I was like, what? No. So we were having a really hot one time. But he came down the next morning and he saw us laughing and talking, and he was like, but I thought y'all were getting a divorce. I said, well, he said, y'all were rowing us. I said, Jazz, we may have a heated discussion or a row, but no, we love each other, and we already settled the matter. But and it's it
And that's important to show in families, especially with kids. You can't have disagreements and don't show forgiveness. Don't show, hey, that's part of life. You agree to disagree, or you agree to compromise, and you move on with life. And I think one of the things that we've practiced is in our house is okay to get upset, but after you get upset, you forgive and move on. It ain't no forgive. It ain't no I upset and I upset for weeks and weeks on end. That don't. But especially with my personality, you could be upset all you want because I've already moved on after we've said
yeah,
we've said what we have to be said.
you one of them. You just bulldoze through where you going, and sorry for who getting away.
You forgive and move on.
And as far as you concerned, you even ain't realized you done knocked the whole place over. But and that is one of the things I was gonna say. But what I wanted to talk about the understanding personalities in our families. But what I wanted to say too was something that we've been intentional and practice even when we have disagreements, especially with our son. When me and you having a disagreement, or even when we fuss him or whatever, when we realize we are wrong,
Yeah.
we will we make it a point to come and say I'm sorry. And if we've had a really exuberant discussion in front, to the point that my son has heard it or he was there, the apology is made in
That's beautifully.
in front of the people that the argument was made
Yeah.
in front of. So if we were disputing in front of somebody and we have reconciled, we reconcile in the front of that person so that they know that that matter has been dealt with.
This is why one of the takeaways here is forgiveness strengthens relationship and fosters deeper connection rooted in love and in grace. Because that's one of the things we have to remember, that we have to always be showing grace with everything that we do.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So let's talk about practical steps to forgiveness as we start to bring this thing home.
Okay. First thing, you want to acknowledge the hurt
Uh-huh.
and the need to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Again, one of the things that I had to mature in was on my part was acknowledging the hurt, because some of us I don't know where it came from, where the concept was planted, where the idea was planted, but we don't think that we should be hurt. And I think I understood, because growing up being the oldest child, there were times that you took responsibility and you took blame for a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And in many cases, even if I was hurt by it, or my sisters did something, they took something, or they wanted something that was mine, it was like I could not, I almost didn't have a right to respond or rebel, or be offended. So I had to always keep it and brush it off.
I guess another key point too is to remember to pray for God to help you forgive and heal, and for healing.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. Another key is releasing that person and leaving justice to God.
God.
Because a lot of times in forgiveness, the person that you want to forgive is not reachable, or don't want to be reached. Sometimes you just gotta, I can leave that to God. Forgive them and leave them to God and to move on. Let me ask a question, wifey. Can you walk us through the steps you take when you are working to forgive someone?
When I'm working to forgive someone, like I said previously, I acknowledge the hurt. I acknowledge the hurt first to myself, and I acknowledge the hurt to God. And then I realize, like I said earlier, I need to forgive.
Okay.
And I kind of process in my mind, why did that hurt me? What was it that that they did that pushed the button
Mm-hmm.
that caused me to feel hurt?
Mm.
And then I want to know, okay, is that something in me that I need to address? Is there some area of hurt, some history, why that area is sensitive?
Mm-hmm.
It might, or is it that is it was their behavior intentional and with malice? And if it was, okay, then why were they attacking me? If that was if they were being mean or nasty, why were they attacking me? And then I go on to I take it to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and I cry out to the Lord with it. And one of the things that I've learned to do is be totally transparent with God. Listen, nothing you could say or do or act surprises God.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what you could say before you even say it. So if there's anyone that I could be true and transparent with, it's with him. It's with God about the matter. And I ask him to show me how to deal with this.
So, wifey, give us your give us your as we close up and wrap up here. Give us your final thoughts on this topic on forgiveness and what we've discussed today.
As we've explored today, forgiveness is powerful. It's a privileged power.
Mm-hmm.
It heals, it restores,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps the pipe, the flow between you and God open, and it puts forgiveness coins in your bank to withdraw. Because again, if you don't put any forgiveness coins in, you can't withdraw any forgiveness from God.
Wow.
So
So,
and it's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
wow. So, if this episode encourages you, share it with a friend or a loved one who might be needing to hear about the power of forgiveness. And don't forget to subscribe and join the Ask Wifey community. Until next time, remember, the kingdom of God is here.